Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you guys saw my previous video, you will know that I am moving to South Korea to become an English teacher. A few people actually commented on that video asking if I could explain my experience with the job application process and the visa process. So that is what I'm going to be explaining to you guys today. I hope that this video will be helpful to those of you who are actually interested in teaching abroad. Kind of give you guys a general idea of what to expect and what you'll need to do in this process. So I made some notes on my laptop, and if I'm looking down, that's what I'm going to be looking at. So I'm going to be talking about two separate things. I'm going to be talking about the job application process and the visa process. So first, about the job application process, I believe that this is going to be different for everybody depending on which route you decide to take. In Korea, you can either go through the public school system or through like the private school system, which are hagwons. For the public school systems, you'll have to go through either the EPIC program or I believe the TALK program. Personally, I only really know the process about hagwons because that's where I was hired. I didn't apply for EPIC. If you guys don't know, hagwons are more independently run. You'll have to go through different recruiters to apply to a hagwon, basically. Whereas if you're applying to EPIC, I believe you do like an interview. I don't really know the EPIC process, but I believe you'll do like an interview with EPIC and they will place you in a public school. But don't quote me on that because I'm not really sure about the EPIC program. So for requirements, there are a couple different requirements that you need to meet in order to become an English teacher in Korea. So you need to be a native English speaker and you need to be from one of the following countries: Australia, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa, the UK, or the US. You also need to have a bachelor's degree, a clean criminal record, and they also prefer if you have a TOEFL, but it's not actually required. However, I do believe having a TOEFL will probably increase your chances of getting a job just because the job market for teaching is extremely competitive now and more people are wanting to do it. So if you have a TOEFL, you'll probably look a little bit more desirable to employers. So like I said, I got hired at a private school, so a hagwon, and this is how I went about getting that position. I applied to multiple different recruiters and I also went onto Dave's ESL Cafe. On that website, it has basically just a whole bunch of job postings from different recruiters, and you can just email the emails provided in the job posting and you'll basically introduce yourself. I believe you have to attach your resume. I think I also had to attach a headshot. I applied to 5 different recruiting agencies. So I went through OK Recruiting, Travel and Teach, Adventure Teaching, Apple Tree Education, and Footprints Recruiting. The different agencies obviously do things differently. For the most part, I had entrance interviews with each recruiting company except for 2, and they basically just ask you what you are expecting as a person that wants to become an English teacher. So they want to ask you where you want to be placed or your preference of where you want to be placed, your preference in teaching age, and obviously your background in working with kids, your educational background, and they probably will just ask you why you want to become an English teacher. Your recruiter's job is to help guide you along with the interview process. They'll help set up interviews for you. They will also guide you in obtaining your visa. Before I even interviewed for any teaching position, I actually started gathering my documents that I needed for my visa, and a lot of the recruiting agencies actually prefer that you have your documents all in order before you get interviewed because it's a pretty quick process. Once you get the job offer, they literally want you to send your documents to Korea ASAP so that they can go to immigration and get your visa sponsored. There's a lot of waiting involved and I'll get into that in the visa portion of this video. I loved my recruiter. He was great. He literally responded to all of my emails so quickly, answered all of my questions. He sent me different job opportunities and asked what I was interested in. So basically, once I decided that I was interested in a position that he had presented to me, my recruiter set up an interview for me basically 2 days after that. They set up the interviews on Skype. I did the interview like late at night, which was the beginning of their workday there. And I did my interview with the director of the school. The interview was relatively easy. I don't think that there was any super hard questions per se in the interview. They basically just asked me if I had any teaching experience, any experience I had with kids, any experience I had working with kids. And they also asked me, obviously, why I wanted to teach in Korea specifically. 2 days after my interview, my recruiter told me that they wanted to offer me a position. So he sent me over the contract that I could review. And then once I decided that I wanted to take the position, I would just sign it and send it back to him. The school had also provided me with the email of a current English teacher. So I was able to get in contact with somebody that already worked there and I could ask anything that I wanted. The timing is going to be different for everybody. Like I said, I went through multiple recruiting agencies and some of them didn't even send me any job opportunities. I was basically in the beginning stages of gathering my visa documents. I'd gotten interviews from a different recruiting agency, so I was doing those interviews while I was still gathering my documents just in case I didn't get offered a position. So overall, it's a pretty sweet gig, even though I literally haven't even started yet and I haven't left the country. You get to live in a different place and work. You get paid to work. You get paid to live in a different country. And you also don't have to pay for your housing because your school will pay for it. As an overall tip, I would make sure if you are applying to Hagwons and not through Epic, I would ask to see pictures of the accommodation. Make sure that you like it because you will be living there. I would also suggest that you make sure that they pay for your flight because you don't want to be forking over $1,500 for a flight and then you have to like wait for your paycheck because you only get paid like once a month. It's not bi-weekly. So that's kind of going to be a big hit to your bank account. So I would definitely suggest making sure that they will pay for your flight, they will pay for your housing, and that you're not going to be paying out of pocket for anything. So overall, the job application process was not that long. It really just depends on your recruiter, what recruiting agency you go through, or the job positions that you are applying for. The recruiter that I went with sent me a job posting, set up an interview. I did the interview and was offered the position all in under a week. So it really just depends on you, and I guess it also just depends on your agency. So now I'm going to talk about the visa process, and this is, I don't want to say long, it is kind of a lengthy process, but the only reason it's lengthy is because you are doing so much waiting. Like when I tell you you're doing a lot of waiting, you're doing a lot of waiting. And this was the most frustrating process for me because there would be weeks at a time when I had no idea what was going on with any of my papers. And I was like worried that they had lost my papers in the mail. I'll get into that later. It's so time consuming. Basically, my timeline was that I'd gotten the job offer at the end of July and I didn't get my visa physically in my hand until the 1st of October. A lengthy process. Also, just a warning, you should be prepared to spend quite a bit of money on your visa with the shipping costs and paying to get different notarizations and like getting my fingerprints taken. You will be paying quite a bit of money. The good thing though is that you don't have to worry about whether or not they are going to grant you a visa because your school is sponsoring it for you. So when you send your documents over to Korea, like that's what they're doing. They're sponsoring your visa. So there are a lot of required documents that you need in order to get your visa. Like I said, there's a different process. So you're gathering these documents to send to Korea, which they will be going to immigration and submitting these papers, and then you'll be getting a visa PIN number. I know the process for Canada, so I'm going to be speaking on the Canadian process. Each country will be slightly different. The documents that you need are the same, but the different types of verification methods are different and vary from country to country. So obviously your recruiter will help you with what you need to do exactly, but this is what I had to do specifically, and I'm from Canada. So you're going going to need a copy of your university diploma, and this needs to be notarized by the International Notary Public, so by a lawyer, and it also needs to be notarized by your local Korean consulate, and both of which the notarizations you do need to pay for. You'll also need a criminal record check. For Canada, it's an RCMP check, and you will have to get your fingerprints taken, and this was about $110, and once you receive that in the mail, you do also have to get that notarized by Korean consulate. Depending on where you live, you will most likely have to mail out your documents to get it notarized by the Korean consulate, but I was lucky enough to live kind of close to one, so I was able to drive down there and get that done. You'll also need to fill out a self-medical check form, which your recruiter should provide for you. You will need to get 6 passport photos, which are in the size 3.5 by 4.5 centimeters. If you're from Canada, that's not standard passport size. Don't get standard passport size. Canadian passport pictures are huge, and I realized that after that I messed up and got the wrong passport picture size, because I just got the Canadian standard passport picture size. They were like way too big, so I had to go back and get them cut. I didn't have to pay for more because the lady at Costco was lit and she reprinted them for me in the correct size, but she was not happy with me whatsoever. I called her on the phone and I almost started crying. She was nice enough to do that for me, even though I was the one that messed up. So make sure you get it in the right size. And then you'll also need to make a photocopy of your passport in either black or colored ink, doesn't really matter, and your passport needs to be valid for at least 12 months because you will be gone for a year, because the contracts are for a year. And then I also had to make 3 copies of my work contract, and I had to sign and date them. So once you gather all the required documents, you will need to ship them to your recruiter via FedEx or DHL Express shipping. Like, they want them ASAP. So I shipped my documents out on a Tuesday, and then they got to Korea on the Thursday of that same week. So it was really, really fast. Also really expensive, kind of. I believe I spent $125 on shipping out my documents. They got there safe and sound. That's all that matters. From there, your school will take all of your documents, provided that they are completed correctly, filled out correctly, and that you're not missing any papers. They will take it to immigration, and there they will be sponsoring your visa. Generally, immigration takes about 2 weeks for you to get a visa PIN number, but obviously due to the current circumstances with COVID, immigration was extremely backed up, so it took like an extra week for me. I waited 3 weeks to get my visa PIN number, and once you get that visa PIN number, you're finally able to apply to get your visa from the Korean consulate. In retrospect, my documents got to Korea, I believe, on August 8th, and I didn't get my PIN number until August 28th. I was supposed to be in Korea by September 10th, the latest, and it's currently October 10th, and I'm still here. But anyways, my local Korean consulate is the consulate in Toronto, and by the time I got my visa PIN number, they were only taking people on an appointment basis, and the visa department is the busiest department, so they were completely booked until September 11th, which obviously to me is an issue when I'm supposed to be in Korea by the 10th. Like, that's not happening. So I decided to mail in my application, which for the most part, people are going to be mailing in their applications because you don't necessarily live near the Korean consulate. So I mailed out my application at the end of August. I believe I mailed it out on the 29th or the 30th of August. And I didn't receive my visa in the mail until October 1st. So it really took that long. It sucked because the consulate literally does not have a voice mailbox or a visa inquiry line. So you have no idea what's going on with your visa. They don't email you back unless you're an emergency visa case, which is when you have like a sick family member and you need to be like in Korea yesterday. So like I said, I mailed my application out on August 30th and I sent it via express shipping, Canada Post. I had a tracking number, so they notified me that my documents were delivered on September 2nd. And I literally didn't hear anything for 2 weeks. And I think on the 15th, I got a phone call saying that they had just got my application and that I needed to get tested for COVID. So I went and got my COVID test the next day. Monday because they called me at like 8 p.m. So I went and got my COVID test done the next day, and I had to wait to get my test results, which took 4 days, 4 to 5 days, because also the testing facilities and the labs were really backed up. Instead of like the 2 days that they were saying, like it was 4 to 5 days. So then once I got that, I emailed them, and I think I emailed them on the Sunday. And then, so obviously they wouldn't have gotten my test results until the Monday. They called me on September 29th that they were mailing my visa to me. I got it on October 1st. So a lot of waiting, a lot of angry phone calls, a lot of angry emails that I literally didn't get any response to, but it's fine. I have my visa now. Everything's fine and dandy. I'm still waiting to leave, but you know, it really be like that sometimes. The consulate website, at least the Toronto Korean consulate, laid out specifically what I needed to mail in my application to make it nice and easy. So I didn't have any issues. It was just they were really backed up and I just needed to wait really long, but my documents were completed correctly and were fine. So I'm just going to tell you guys like the different documents that were required of me. I had to fill out a visa application form, and that is where you will put your visa PIN number so that they're like, she is going to be working here. And then you have to fill out an additional contact information form. So on that, I believe I just had to fill out like, it was like emergency contacts. You needed to obviously ship out your passport, and you also needed to have a photocopy of your passport in there. You need to have another passport photo. You needed to have a signed employment contract. You needed to have a printout from the school's website, or I guess like anything that could be provided to you by your school that just has their contact information, so their address, phone number, email, like whatever. You need to have either a clean bill of health done by your physician, or you need to get a COVID test and you'll have to send your COVID results. But through mail, they don't want you doing that first. They want you to wait for them to call you and then you get your COVID test done. Then you also needed to fill out a health condition form, a consent to quarantine form, and then because I mailed in my application, they wanted like a proof of residency. So I had to photocopy my driver's license. And then you do have to pay for your visa still. So you have to send in a certified bank draft. But yeah, that's all of the required documents that I sent. So I finally have my visa now. That stress is over. I don't even like want to think about it because I was just so frustrated waiting for that piece of paper that anytime anyone wanted to talk to me about me moving to Korea, I was just so snappy. So I just like don't even want to talk about it, but I have it now, so I don't have to worry about it. All I have to worry about now is my school booking my flight so that I can leave. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That was my experience with the job application process and the visa process. I hope that it helped you guys in any way. I hope that if you are interested in teaching abroad, that this kind of sheds some light on what to expect when you are preparing yourself to go. And if you are thinking about going, I would highly, highly recommend it. I know I haven't left yet, but I really, really think that it's an amazing opportunity and you should just go for it. What is stopping you? I'm so hungry. I need to like go eat something. So make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Comment down below places in Korea you think I should visit when I go there. I will most likely vlog. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, maybe even hit the notification bell. And I don't know, follow me on Instagram, Twitter. That would be nice. We can be friends on there. And I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye.